and welcome to Weirdmageddon Part 1 and 2.
Guys, we have an emergency on our hands like no other. A mind-blowing, soul-crushing, apocalyptic catastrophe that puts everything else we've ever seen to shame. An event this world-changing only comes around once in a lifetime, and we need all the help we can get in making sure that everyone comes out okay.
So, let's get into the apocalypse.
Wait, you thought I was talking about the apocalypse?
Well, duh.
No way, man! I meant something super serious!
Okay, which would be?
Gravity Falls is ending!
Ah!
Yes, after 2 awesome seasons and quite a bit of hype, Gravity Falls is finally drawing to a close. And to finish off the series, we get to see the biggest, most cataclysmic thing this show has ever put out in the form of a 3-part epic season finale. And we're in a bit of a pickle here. Normally, when episodes come out in multiple parts, we like to review all of the parts in one video, but we're making an exception here because part 3 of this episode is 1 hour and not coming until 2016. So it's really more convenient for us to just review the first 2 parts now and deal with part 3 when it comes.
Which we will be doing as quickly as possible when it does. So be expecting that video. But anyway, let's be more concerned about this one first. So we open up with Bale changing into his physical form, and it's got some pretty cool animation effects. He introduces himself to Gravity Falls and introduces his gang of monster friends too. The townsfolk don't like him very much, and when Pacifica's dad tries to negotiate with him, he shuffles all the functions and orifices in his face. How fun.
How about instead I shuffle the functions of every hole in your face?
Okay, it's official. Gravity Falls can get away with literally whatever it wants. Alex Hirsch and his team of writers have managed to convince even Disney of all companies to let them show whatever it is they want without any kind of consequence. Nothing the show ever pulls off can surprise me anymore. I give up. You win, Gravity Falls, you win.
I could really use a castle of some kind!
Correction, it's his pyramid castle.
But hey, at least we still have our nice familiar Gravity Falls theme song, right?
Wrong!
Weird that I like the broken version more than the normal one? Yes? Okay, well that's normal for me, so I'm not really that surprised.
Remixing the theme song was a very clever move. Not only do we get a nice dose of freaky apocalyptic imagery, but it really hits home just how important and devastating this apocalypse is. When it ends, Ford tells Dipper that if they're going to stop Bill, they need to blast him back through the rift that he came from, and Dipper agrees to follow Ford even if it's to the ends of the earth. How sweet.
Ford and Dipper step inside as a weirdness wave comes over them. First, it cuts to Seuss and his abuelita, and she got turned into a chair. That's nice. Seuss heads out to find the others, and the next cut is to Stan, who isn't actually that important, but Gompers does get turned big, so that's a thing. Afterwards, the final cut is to the prison, where Gideon and all of his inmates are busted out by Gompers eating the wall. There's also that 3-headed bird, which I really like.
Gideon seems strangely excited at the sight of this apocalypse. Something tells me that credit scene with him summoning Bill is coming back into play.
Finally!
Ford tries to shoot down Bill, but winds up just barely missing.
I also really like the way he clicks open the case for his gun, like 2 fingers. It's also some really great anatomy, because I cannot draw hands. They are the enemy of every artist on the planet. Just ask Tumblr, they'll agree.
But you know what? This episode has so many good animation effects that if we spent time talking about every one of them, we'd be here all day. So, in the interest of time, these are the top 10 best animation effects in Weirdmageddon Part 1.
Number 10, when Bill turns around brick by brick.
Number 9, the Billmobile, complete with blind dive and stick shift.
Number 8, this giant head monster thing that they love to use.
Number 7, the huge whale!
Number 6, this monster here eating the billboard.
Number 5, Bill using his eye like a mouth.
Number 4, Bill's hat reforming with that weird and cool flesh bony thing.
Number 3, the weirdest bubbles, just all of them.
Number 2, the car crashing into the ground.
And number 1, Bill turning into his physical form.
Bill uses his powers to levitate Ford and tries to convince him to join his gang of freaks. When he declines, saying, "I'll die before I join you," Bill gives him a riddle.
Why did the old man do this?
Which ends up turning him into a back scratcher. You know, that was actually really clever. I know, we're all supposed to hate Bill in this episode, and when it first aired, I did, but now, watching it over again, it just reminds me of how much I really love Bill, okay? He's insane, and I love it. Yeah, judge me all you want. I'll take it all in, but it's true! There's 3 people in the fandom right now. There's the people on the twin side, the people on Bill's side, and the people who just don't want anybody to be hurt. Don't Don't hurt my babies! I'm very much circling in between those three.
Dipper tries to stop Bill, but can't find anything in the journals, which Bill burns. These scenes do a great job making Bill look as intimidating as possible. This triangle means business, and isn't afraid to do whatever it takes to keep the chaos going.
Dorito! Bill and his gang roll out in what we're going to call the Bill-mobile, which, by the way, nobody can tell me that Blind Ivan is not foreshadowing. They go to the pyramid, and 8-Ball and Teeth stay behind to eat Dipper for a snack. How fun!
We're day 3 in this strange cataclysmic event, which some are calling Weirdmageddon.
Wait, it's already been 3 days? How long was the first day? Oh, and how long is the second day? Well, that explains some things.
Time has no meaning! We all just got time skipped!
In a scene that manages to be both silly and terrifying, Dipper makes it into the mall and just barely avoids getting eaten by this giant monster.
Then he finds nachos, the last nachos on Earth, as he says, and apparently it's a trap set by Wendy!
Wait, were those nachos supposed to trap Bill? Did Wendy seriously think that Bill would see them and be all like,
"Oh, yo, triangly things! I found my kind! Haha! Don't mind if I do!"
My dad made me and my brothers do apocalypse training every year instead of Christmas.
well, now we know why there isn't a Gravity Falls Christmas special.
The more you know! Da-da-da-da!
Wendy takes Dipper into her secret hideaway for
Catch my name in the car with
We were playing Truth or Dare in the cemetery when it happened. The eyeballs froze Nate, Lee, Tambry, and Thompson. Robbie almost got away, but had to pause to take a selfie.
I guess that's what happens when you're a stereotypical teenager. You die.
Well then! So Dipper tells Wendy about the fight he and Mabel had, and they go outside for some fresh air. Bodacious T keeps watch of the camp, apparently.
It wouldn't be a grand finale without at least one big emotional scene, and this sequence certainly does that. Dipper's growing fear only gets more apparent as they talk on the mall roof. Dipper realizes that he might have a chance at stopping Bill if he had Mabel by his side, and so begins an epic quest to get to this giant bubble.
The Time Police come to crash Bill's party, along with Time Baby. You see, Bill has had a very long history of hating Time Baby. Just look at his ass on Redbubble, you'll see. "I'd just simply his molecules inside my margarita if I could." And look at what he's doing now. Into his drink it goes.
Also, I can't believe how much of a time paradox this is causing.
Call in the doctor!
The terror just keeps escalating as Wendy and Dipper get surrounded by a gang of monster truck drivers, led by...
Wait, Gideon?
Under the authority of Bill Cipher, I place you two under arrest!
Oh joy.
So, Gideon announces that he is the keeper of the bubble, the only one with a key, and that Mabel is now his. Okay, Dipper doesn't take too kindly to this, and starts to get in a large argument with him and his gang. Wendy ends up helping the two of them escape, and they start driving off towards the bubble, followed by Gideon.
The chase leads the group through a bunch of weirdness bubbles, which all represent different visual styles and weird gags. It's pretty fun.
So finally, we get Seuss back, who's been traveling the fields to get Desperado, and apparently has some folk songs about him now. Nice. They get surrounded by Gideon, who has a change of heart after Dipper negotiates with him.
Okay, as great as most of the animation effects in this episode are, this shot always looks tacky to me. It's like they deliberately animated those bats to look like a bad green screen effect. It just doesn't look right.
Maybe Bill wanted it to be a bad green screen effect. Who knows anymore? It's the apocalypse Weirdmageddon thingy, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, something.
Now we get to talk about Gideon's whole redemption thing. Yeah, it's a pretty strange scene. On one hand, this is extremely fast, and perhaps even a bit rushed. After so much build-up for Gideon as being this obsessive, spoiled creep, it takes just one motivational speech to redeem him. But on the other hand, it's the apocalypse, and everyone in this scene is probably afraid for their life. And when people's lives are in danger, their emotions can be very strong and take wild leaps and turns. So, I'm going to have to let you be the judge of whether this scene makes sense or not.
I say it makes sense. But either way, Gideon and his gang drive off towards Bill's pyramid, and the others head towards the bubble. They enter, and the episode ends with a to be continued.
Which thankfully we don't have to worry about because we're reviewing both parts 1 and 2. So let's just keep going.
Huzzah! So we start off with a happy-looking mailbox and a cute little squirrel. Oh hey, maybe everything's... Yeah, I was gonna say everything's not okay at all still, cause it's Bill. Come on, people! Did you actually expect something nice?
Best opening shot to a Gravity Falls episode. Period.
Definitely.
After a minute or two of Bill being awesome, we find out that Bill and his team have got some trouble on their hands. I'll describe it like this.
Phenomenal cosmic powers.
Itty bitty living space.
And then there's also this.
Hello from the other side.
I just love Bill's tone of voice when he finds out about the bubble. He just sounds so genuinely full of rage, and it is glorious.
So, after we get a shortened version of the broken theme song, we cut to Dipper, Seuss, and Wendy in Mabel's bubble. As Dipper is talking, the floor cracks beneath them and they start falling through rainbows. Yeah, that's nice.
Now, this episode has the subtitle, Escape from Reality, which, yeah, after everything we just saw, I could really use an escape from reality. So, what does the inside of Mabel's bubble look like?
A gigantic rainbow with lots of weird creatures, stuffed animals, and coolness.
This fantasy world is pretty much the opposite of Bill's Gravity Falls in pretty much every way. It's still a weird place, infested with weird creatures, but everything is brightly colored and sugary sweet. It's quite a change from everything we've seen in part 1.
Zyler and Kraz meet up with the three of them in Mabel Land and take them on a tour.
Yeah!
Did I just get memed on by a Disney show?
Dipper doesn't trust this place for a minute, immediately wanting to know where Mabel is. They find her in a giant sandcastle protected by waffle guards. Dipper and company's super serious attitude contrasts completely with the overly cutesy world around them, and it is hilarious.
Mabel announces that she created this world and doesn't want to leave. In fact, she's the mayor here. Mabel says that after Dipper said he wasn't going to go back home with her, she wanted to hide in her sweater forever. So instead, she wanted to stay here, a place where the party never ends, it's always summer, and where they don't have to grow up, which is what she's afraid of. And when Dipper objects, out comes...
I prepared a backup, Dipper, with a more supportive attitude.
Dippy Fresh! Now, everybody hates Dippy Fresh. There is not one person in the Gravity Falls fandom I know of who likes Dippy Fresh. It's the one thing we have all collectively agreed upon. Put it in the history books. Once in a lifetime thing.
Really? This one silly background caricature is what the Gravity Falls fandom decided to take their anger out on? I guess it figures though. Bill Cipher has taken over the town, many background characters are petrified, Time Baby is dead, and Gravity Falls is about to end. I guess the fandom needed something to be mad at.
I swear, if you like Dippy Fresh, I am going to murder you. It's the end of the world! There's no rules! I do what I want!
Pudding center. Nice.
Chocolate pudding in the middle of a hamburger? That sounds like it would taste disgusting.
It's Seuss. Don't question it.
While the group starts out wanting Mabel to quit playing around and leave the bubble, both Wendy and Seuss find something they want inside.
Sus, mijo. I have returned. Dad?
Oh, so they're referencing Seuss's dad that left him behind? That's actually a really clever reference.
And also very evil.
You don't remember what I look like, so I have the body of a pro wrestler and the face you once saw in a hot sauce bottle.
Oh no, you didn't! Wow, making us think we're finally seeing what Seuss's dad looks like, only to find out it's all a lie? That's low, guys.
Do you realize how sad this is? Come on, Seuss doesn't even remember what his dad looks like. He made up a version of him to comfort himself in Mabel's bubble. This is sad. Nobody can tell me otherwise that Seuss really just needs a hug. Come on.
Or maybe he just needs a high five.
Yes.
You're dead to me, Seuss.
We cut back to Bill and his gang. Bill is extremely mad that they can't find a way to get out of Gravity Falls. And just as he's about to get forward out of his gold coma thing, he's interrupted by Keyhole, who tells him that Gideon let Dipper and the others in Mabel's bubble. Apparently, Mabel's bubble is just a trap that would need a will of titanium in order not to fall for.
If this scene is any indication, then part 3 of this episode will involve both Ford coming back and Gideon facing Bill. This is gonna be cool. But let's get back to the bubble.
I'm a stuffed animal tree.
Whoa, that tree has the same voice as the police officer on this show.
Hold on a minute. Do you have a permit for those?
That actually kind of creeps me out for some reason.
Dipper is skipping stones in the lake right next to this tree, trying to reason with himself. Then, Wendy pops up and starts talking to him about the two of them possibly being together if he was older.
If you were older, you'd be like my dream guy. Wait a minute. In this place, you can be any age you want.
I just had some very disturbing thoughts flash into my head.
Cobalt, whatever your middle name is, Diamond. Don't you dare. Dipper quickly figures out
Just take my hand.
Wait!
that this Wendy is a fake! And there's also that weird tree thing going on. So cool!
After Dipper mentions wanting to go back to the real world, everything turns on him, because apparently mentioning the real world is the one rule that you should never ever break in Mabel Land. Mabel agrees to let Dipper go to court to defend why he thinks going to the real world is the best option, and so begins the trial of fantasy versus reality.
Really, all that happens inside of this court for most of the time is Mabel's side showing all of the bad things that have happened, and Dipper's side showing all of the good things that have happened. We're gonna skip past Mabel's and focus on Dipper and his realization.
Dipper's main argument as to why reality is better than fantasy is that, while things in the real world may be unpleasant and harsh, hiding from them and denying that they exist is not the right way to handle that. And that's a great idea, in theory, but unfortunately I don't buy that it alone would convince Mabel. Let me explain. Mabel woke up in this fantasy world, having no idea as to who made it or why, and as far as she knows, it's going to last forever. So when Dipper says that you can't hide from reality, the response someone in Mabel's position would inevitably have is, but of course you can hide from reality. I can stay in this made-up world as long as I want. Nothing's going to take it away from me. Of course, we, as the audience, know that isn't true because Bill is going to burst the bubble at some point. But Mabel doesn't know that, and it's really weird how Dipper never once brought that fact up. The fantasy will end, which is exactly why staying in a fantasy is a bad idea. But without getting that across to Mabel, this entire argument winds up coming off very unnatural. Now, does that make this scene bad? No, not at all. This scene is still sweet, and the idea of loved ones helping you get through tough times is a positive one. But unfortunately, as much as I hate to do it, I have to take off some points here because the episode completely ignores what I just pointed out. That Mabel genuinely thinks that she can hide all she wants, and that she'll never have to face her fears. As much as I like this scene, I have to criticize it here, which is a shame because pretty much everything up until this part of the episode has been nothing but gold.
I don't think Dipper was really considering that Bill would pop in at some point. He was more concerned with getting Mabel out. Plus, Mabel doesn't know that Bill is even in a physical form currently, or ending the world. Last she saw, he was in Blendon's body. Also, I think that if Dipper brought up cold hard facts, Mabel probably wouldn't have listened. As clearly shown, Mabel isn't exactly one for reality or things like that. I think Dipper is just using the side of the two of them being together, which is what their argument was about only days ago, was a really smart way of getting her out of the bubble.
Dipper decides to not be Ford's apprentice and to go back and live with Mabel back home. And while I have thoughts on this scene, I can't say them because we still have a part 3 that will probably elaborate more on this decision. And now you know why we like to review multiple part episodes in only one video. So let's just keep going.
Mabel and Dipper hug it out, making Mabel's reign over Mabelland over. Everything in her world turns against her, and it turns into something like a second apocalypse. It looks really cool. Okay, I like it better than the original Mabelland. Mabel bursts her own bubble, and they end up back out in the real apocalypse. Mabel and the gang look around over everything and head to the shack for safety. When they enter though, it's filled with monsters from the forest, Stan, a couple of the side characters, and Multi-Bear. And that's where the episode ends.
Now, we can't give out ratings for this yet, since we still have one part of the episode left, but we can still talk about our thoughts so far, so let's do this.
So far, these two past episodes have been absolutely spectacular. They've given us a great look at the apocalypse and Bill's plans, with enough twists and turns to keep us on our toes the entire time. Dipper and Mabel solve their problems, and in the next episode, I think we're going to be in for quite a ride.
These first two beginnings of the end were pretty fun to watch. It's neat finally getting to see Bill's version of reality and Mabel's version of fantasy. Though there were a few awkward spots, for the most part, everything was fine. It was funny, clever, suspenseful, and all around good. Now we just have to wait for part 3.
Thank you, one and all for watching, and we hope to see you in the next one. See ya!